This episode of Pop Goes the Culture is brought to you by Melissa Cutler. Thanks for being a Pop Goes the Culture Patreon contributor. To get your name at the top of a Pop Goes the Culture episode, become a Patreon subscriber for just $4.99 a month. It's easy. By doing so, you'll help us keep Pop Goes the Culture coming to you every day. And as a thank you, we'll put your name at the top of a Pop Goes the Culture episode in the future. Thanks to all my Patreon contributors. Hi, I'm David Levin, and welcome to Pop Goes the Culture, the behind-the-scenes TV stories rarely or never told from the people who are there. Today, in part 4 of our 9-part conversation with Marina Sirtis of Star Trek, Marina enters the world of the future, the challenges of working with aliens, green screens, and special effects, how she grew with the show, the teasing of Patrick Stewart and how the cast got along, and working on the sets at Paramount. Here's Marina. Let's talk a little bit about sort of entering the world of the future for you. You know, my guess is most people, when they a lot of people, just, if they're not a science fiction fan, they just sort of like, all right, I'm putting on a costume, here I am in this set. I mean, what was that like for you?
Well, the costumes were difficult because you couldn't eat a grape without it showing, so that was a challenge. And, you know, I think the biggest challenge was be working with people who were fish or, you know, gorgons or weird aliens and having to keep a straight face. But that, you get used to that quite quickly. The other challenge was the green screen, having to act to stuff that wasn't there. And I remember seeing episodes in the first season where abysmally embarrassing performances, you know, from all of us acting to green screen. But then, you know, gradually you get the hang of it and it gets better. But some of those first shows were just awful.
What's one that you remember?
I remember one where there was this kind of light that was supposed to be zooming around the bridge and it was blinding us. And I was kind of, oh, the light! It was just overacting, ham, horrible. I was like, where is that smell coming from? Oh my God, it's me. Okay. You know, it was just horrible.
As time went on, you guys really sort of started to mesh, not just as a cast, but in terms of finding, it almost looked effortless by the 7th season. Talk to me about that creative arc and evolution for yourself.
Well, when you do 180 something shows, which we did, you don't have to think about it. I mean, you do the first maybe 5 or 6 shows, you're really concentrating, figuring out your character, you know, what would I do in this situation, doing research. You know, I was subscribing to Psychology Today for a year because I thought I needed to know this stuff to be a psychologist. But then gradually, you kind of, almost by osmosis, know the character so well that you really don't have to think about it anymore. And the relationships between the characters develop, and they have elements of your real relationship with that person. You know, so there's the lines get blurred sometimes, you know. I mean, Patrick, I suppose the one person that the lines would probably not be as blurred would be Patrick, because he was very serious, you know, and very kind of strong and masterful and all those things, and yet we ridiculed him for 7 years. He was the butt of our jokes for 7 years, and poor man took it on the chin like a trooper. But I think we kept him grounded. I really do. I think, you know, he became such a megastar. If we hadn't made fun of him all that time, he probably would have been unbearable.
What kind of stuff were you guys doing with this poor guy?
Oh, well, he would stand up in front of the view screen and with his hands on his hips say, I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise. And I'd be sitting behind him going, don't do that, Patrick. And he'd go, what, Marina, what? And I'd say, oh, don't stand with your hands on your hips. It's so Nancy. Oh, shut up, Marina. You know. You look like a big girl's blouse, Patrick. Don't do that.
What did the other actors do?
Well, Michael Dorn used to like pounce on Patrick out of dark corners and like pummel him to the floor. as a big Klingon jumping on you. We were a very musical cast. A lot of our cast came from the musical theatre, and so we were always singing. Patrick thought he could sing. He can't. He should stop trying. But we just, it's very hard to explain because we didn't really play practical jokes on each other, but we laughed like friends laugh when they're together over silly things, you know.
What was it like sort of playing with that big sandbox of a spaceship and the different planets?
Well, we had 3 permanent stages at Paramount. 8 and 9 were the Enterprise, and stage 16 was what we called Planet Hell, because that was always the planet that we landed on. And we would always describe it as an M-class planet, which basically means that it has an atmosphere that we can breathe and we don't need spacesuits. But it was always smoky. And I would just be, do you see smoke? I mean, where in this room now, is there smoke? No, there's no smoke. How is it an M-class planet if there's smoke? But they loved the smoke on Star Trek, and we hated working in it because I'm sure it's not good for you. That we were uncomfortable there because we were far away from our trailers, and you know how spoiled actors are about being right next to their trailers. And we didn't like the trek over there. We weren't important enough to get golf carts. We had to walk the 300 yards to Planet Hell.
In part 5 of my conversation with Marina, she tells us about what she called Planet Hell and the worst Planet Hell they had to deal with. The change from Star Trek miniskirts to more comfortable uniforms. How Denise Crosby left the show and how she came back. And the first major crossover with the original series. What was it like when Spock, Leonard Nimoy, came on the show? All that and more. In the meantime, who is your favorite Next Generation character and why? Tell us in the comments and please subscribe. We'll see you next time. Hey, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Facebook and hit the subscribe button.